Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. It is Friday, May 8th. We have a lot to get to, of course, as the president will be delivering remarks at the Rose Garden at 12 o'clock Eastern time, so 12 noon. We're told via reporting from the Daily Wire that the president will be hosting Angel Moms Gold Star mothers as well for Mother's Day for a luncheon there. So we'll have all of that coming up in about an hour and a half from now. So we have a lot to get to from now until then, including talking about Freedom 250, of course, America 250 when it comes to the huge party in Washington, D.C., when it comes to the birthday of our great nation. So looking forward to that as well. In the meantime, let's talk about the First Lady of the United States. Of course, she introduced to us the Be Best campaign. Here's a video from the office of the First Lady.
The world doesn't move for those who stop. The past year, with discipline and focus, I have enacted several initiatives to benefit our children. Take It Down Act is the first piece of legislation that I supported within the first 100 days. Fostering the Future has expanded coast to coast. $30 million towards HUD's 2026 budget to support housing for America's foster youth. All 50 states are participating in the Presidential AI Challenge. Almost 3,000 schools nationwide joined the White House AI workshop. Over the past 2 months, America sat at the intersection of youth, technology, and education on global stage. I'm honored to have had an opportunity to address the United Nations Security Council about the importance of peace through education. Leaders from almost 50 nations joined me at the White House and the State Department for Fostering the Future Together's Global Coalition Summit. I completed the fourth reunification of Ukrainian and Russian children with their families. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve as First Lady, but understand that my persistence alone is not enough. Please join me in advancing the Be Best Fostering the Future initiative nationwide.
Let's go from the First Lady of the United States to the President of the United States. As you may have seen earlier this week, there was a small business summit, as this week is National Small Business Appreciation Week. So let's take a look at some highlights from that clip as well.
Thrilled to be with you and welcome you to the most fabulous place, the White House is. As we celebrate National Small Business Week, let me begin by saying congratulations to the small business people of the year from all 50 states. As small business owners and operators, the people in this room represent the 36 million small businesses who create 40% of all economic activity in the United States. Our policies protect you and reward you.
We feel that support from the administration down in South Carolina every single day, and that's been a big benefit for us.
There are many policies that have benefited my company and my employees. As a business owner, I take great comfort in knowing that we have leadership that knows how business works.
First time in a long time that we've had somebody like the president step up and put some policies in place that have helped our employees. One of those that's been very impactful this year is the no tax on tips and the no tax on overtime.
We consider Donald Trump as the first Made in America president. He's really pushing for manufacturing in the United States.
To be invited to the White House today is such an honor. It really shows that President Trump cares about small businesses.
The idea of a working family tax cut that allows the businesses, small businesses, to take that cash and reinvest it in their team, their employees, products, and innovation to continue to grow their business is really important.
President Trump's tariffs have been such a huge thing for us and our business. All of these jobs were going to China, and with his tariffs, he's brought them back to America.
You're the lifeblood of the American economy, and with your help, we're truly making America great again.
He's amazing. He's done so much for all of us. Literally, he's going to go down as maybe the best president ever. I love this guy.
You are the most pro-growth, pro-small business president in American history.
I would like to thank you, Mr. President, for restarting and rebooting our economy.
I want to congratulate everybody in the room. You're fantastic people. Really, this is the golden age of America. I really believe it.
And speaking of the American economy, we're seeing the April jobs report and having some strong numbers there as well. So we started out the broadcast with the First Lady of the United States, then shifted over to the Commander-in-Chief. Let's go now to the Vice President as he was in Iowa this week. Let's take a look at some of those highlights as well.
I'm here today to talk a little bit about the stakes in November of 2026.
We're working to make sure that Washington knows that what's made in places like Iowa, what's grown in places like Iowa, not only feed and fuel the world, they're a reflection of our next generation.
Isn't it nice to have a government that finally is fighting for you instead of fighting against you? And that's what we're trying to have in Washington, D.C. If you're building right here in Iowa, if you're making something right here in Iowa, if you're working every single day right here in Iowa, you deserve a tax cut, and that's exactly what we delivered with Congressman Nunn. God bless you guys, and thank you for having me in Iowa.
All right, so let's go from the Hawkeye State in the Midwest back to Washington, D.C. If you missed this is quite the video. President Trump took his Secret Service team to check out the reflecting pool near the Lincoln Memorial yesterday. Here's some proof of that happening.
I'm like, are they driving or just for dramatic? Yeah. They're going in slow motion for us.
Oh my God.
Roll the window down. Sorry, we don't have this. Usually the second.
All right, so the president checking out the reflecting pool. Obviously, the water not in there right now, but they got all of that cleaned up, obviously, for the huge celebration coming up this summer, but also for years to come. That reflecting pool goes from a gray, murky look to a bright, beautiful blue look, so we'll see all of that. And to those of you that are movie buffs out there watching live right now at 10:38 in the morning on the East Coast, 7:38 out there on the West Coast, and thanks for watching on the Central Time Zone, Mountain Time Zone, and anywhere else you're watching. This whole thing reminds me of a moment in the Mighty Ducks movie when Gordon Bombay had his driver drive out on the ice in his limo. A little bit different, but still kind of the same thing. That's what I thought of when I saw that video, but it was pretty cool to see. We'll play that a little bit later in the broadcast as more viewers, of course, join us. But those of you who are already with us right now, thanks so much for doing so. Meantime, let's travel outside the D.C. Beltway to Mississippi, where residents there have entered day 2 of cleanup after 14 tornadoes destroyed nearly 500 homes on Wednesday night, injuring 17 people as storm season is just getting started. Here in Alabama, a lot of high winds, lightning, thunder, rain, severe thunderstorms. No tornadoes that I know of that touched down in Alabama, but my oh my, just to the west in Mississippi, 14 tornado touchdowns. Nearly 500 homes destroyed, 17 people injured, no reports of fatalities. So again, day 2 of cleanup there. And speaking of insanity in a way, I'm going to toss to a video here from X Alerts. Now, I'm going to give you some context on what you're about to see. The report from X Alerts says that a 19-year-old woman says she's alive by the grace of God after her car was split in half by an alleged drunk driver who ran a red light. The driver, identified as Demi, said, "I was heading southbound on Schroner Road when a drunk driver ran the red light going 80 miles per hour on Hall Road. But she said, "I walked away with no major injuries by the grace of God." According to Demi, she was taken to the hospital and suffered no major injuries. If you are maybe in the kitchen right now, or maybe in the living room, or maybe wherever you are, check out this video. Quite the scene, and the woman is not injured. What is there to say? If you remember the interview yesterday with Mike Lindell, he was talking about the existence of God, and I'm sure there's a million ways you can know that God is real. By just seeking him is one way. But that there, I mean, come on, if that's a miracle, I mean, I would say that's a miracle. The car was split in half, and she only has minor injuries. Wow. We'll talk about that video a bit later as you're just joining us maybe, but wow, that was intense to watch. If you'd like to, let's do this. Let's go to MyPillow actually, mypillow.com/RSBN, the Mother's Day special right there as you see there. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com/RSBN, a ton of great products as you see, and as you may already know, but there's a great sale going on, Mother's Day special. Those Giza Dream sheets, as low as $29.98. Those are some great sheets. And also you see the MyPillows there, the premium MyPillows. So check it out, mypillow.com/RSBN. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, you can. Just go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate. In case you missed it, let's go to our recent interview with American patriot Caroline Wren in Florida. Caroline Wren, America First Patriot, joining us now. Caroline, great to see you again.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about Florida quickly. I mean, how is it in the Sunshine State right now?
It is beautiful here. The weather is great. We are batting down the rhinos who were trying to take out the president's renaming of the airport yesterday. So that was sort of a fun thing that popped up. I was asleep, actually, and MAGA state rep Meg Weinberger called me 3 times in a row, said, "Get out of bed. You need to head down to the Palm Beach County Commission's office. They're trying to play games with the renaming of the airport." And so that was sort of a battle we had to play with yesterday.
Wow. So is it's official now? I know the logo is out there, but is it official? Like if I go on Expedia and I say I want to fly from ATL down to DJT, that's going to pop up yet, or is it not there yet?
I think they said in the commissioner meeting yesterday that July 9th would be the date that it's likely going to be enacted, and when the signage will be done and all that. So yesterday the battle was actually over the trademarking of the name, and because they want to make sure that there's not going to be disparaging materials or comments or things about the president. So it was a standard licensing agreement that the Democrats wanted to turn into a pod to play games with blocking this airport naming from happening. But it is going to go forward. And so starting sometime in mid-July, you will get to fly and land at the the President Donald J. Trump International Airport.
No, it'll be awesome. And then on top of that, I'm thinking about maybe upgrades and what it will be like there at the airport, the restaurants. Think about the music that's going to be played in the terminals. It's going to be rally music.
Well, I wish President Trump could DJ, actually. He's such a great DJ on the Mar-a-Lago patio, but I know that there are some secretive Spotify playlists that the president likes to play off of, and so maybe they can get that playlist going in the airport. That would make it very exciting. I for one know I would love to board a flight to Gloria.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Now, let's go up to Washington, D.C. We have the airport code DCA, of course, Ronald Reagan International Airport there. So why is this important to have Donald J. Trump, President Donald J. Trump, to also have an international airport named after him?
Well, he's one of the most transformative figures in history, and also it's pretty normal to have airports named after presidents. You've got the John F. Kennedy Airport in New York. You've got the Reagan Airport, as you mentioned. You have the Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport, in fact, in Little Rock. And so there in the Gerald Ford Airport. But President Trump, he has just been such an unbelievable leader. And I do think this is a big deal for Palm Beach County. I live in Palm Beach County, and just thinking, when you actually are renaming for a sitting president, there are a lot of federal grants and things that matter. And President Trump certainly is someone who loves beauty, as we can tell. And so with his name on an airport, I think that you're going to see a lot of beautification to that airport. I also want to see additional routes. The population of Florida has exploded. 2 million people have moved here since COVID. And so, having an expansion of the Palm Beach International Airport will help with tourism, help the economics of our county. And so the idea that these commissioners will play politics and, try and block President Trump's name from coming, where there's so much economic drive it will bring to our county and bring to our airport, just shows how much Trump derangement syndrome these folks have.
And we all know the saying, the free state of Florida. And I'm sure the people that are watching outside of Florida right now, including myself, we're here in Alabama, but I want to call it the free state of Alabama. I want to hear the free state of Iowa, the free state of New Hampshire. Come on now, right? Freedom across the country. We want to have that similarity that you guys have with that freedom there. And let's go back to the name now. Of course, President Donald J. Trump International Airport. You look at 2015, you look at an outsider candidate, you look at somebody that tells it like it is, you look at somebody that really brought it to the fake news, you look at somebody that overcame so much for we the people. So you look at that versus, I'm sorry, those that are watching in Little Rock, Arkansas, most of them are probably Republicans anyway, but then they have to deal with the Clinton Airport name there. But anyway, so yeah, it's well-deserved, isn't it?
It is well-deserved. And, the president, his home is here with Mar-a-Lago. He has a lot of business here. So honoring him in this way makes total sense. It is good for everyone in our county. I'm so excited to fly in and out of this airport. I can't wait to hear the airlines announce we are now landing at the President Donald J. Trump International Airport. He's putting his library down in Miami-Dade County. That's another big development coming. And then we also have a road here in Palm Beach County that's being renamed after President Trump, which is great. Again, this is a point I made when I went to the meeting yesterday, is that they renamed a major road in Palm Beach County for Barack Obama. And so they're fine doing it when it comes to a Democrat, but they have to just have a total meltdown when it comes to a Republican. And that's not the way it should be. President Trump deserves to be honored in the county that he calls his home. And so this is really, really exciting for people that live in Palm Beach County.
And I want to leave you with this. I mean, not only President Trump, we see President Trump deserves to be honored in, I think, every state across the union. And rightly so for, as you know, MLK Jr. in a number of states across the union. And why not go with Charlie Kirk across every state in the union? Yeah. There should be no pushback from that. We have a majority of the people here that are very happy that President Trump has won elections, that Charlie Kirk was a great, great person for this entire country, and not only that, the world. And same thing with the civil rights leader, MLK Jr. So we really should stop with some of the leftist extremists saying, no, we don't want to do that, right?
100%. I hope President Trump names the ballroom after Charlie Kirk. I think that would be something really special. But you have liberal states such as Arizona, where Charlie Kirk called home, and the governor there vetoed a bill to actually rename, I believe it was the license plates or street after Charlie Kirk. And so they don't want to see any recognition of conservative heroes or Republicans. This is why they topple statues, and they get rid of any books that recognize history of any conservative values. They don't want the Bible anywhere near. This is a pattern by them. And right now we are the ones in power, and we should be honoring folks like President Trump and Charlie Kirk. And I'm glad to see these things actually move forward.
And to your point, exactly, it's not just Republican or it's not just conservative. It's on the right side of history. It's the person that stands for truth. It's the people that stand for good versus evil. So, and we know, again, the majority of the nation on the right side of history. Now, question for you before I let you go. The Save America Act, what would you like to say to maybe 51 Senate Republicans who could actually nuke the filibuster and then have that simple majority pass that act, make it a law in this country?
You need to stop fighting this. It is absolutely insane. The Democrats have said when they take all three branches of government, they will immediately nuke the filibuster, and they will make DC and Puerto Rico states, adding 4 permanent Democrat senators. They will then nuke the filibuster to pack the Supreme Court, and then they will nuke the filibuster to legalize 50 million illegal aliens so that they can be able to compete in an electoral map. They have said it. They are all on the record saying it. It is outrageous that Republicans are too busy protecting the institution of the Senate, where this is the Democrats will blow up the institution the moment they are in power. You've wasted 18 months of President Trump being in office, a Republican majority in the House and the Senate. You need to lift the filibuster immediately, pass the Save America Act, and get President Trump's agenda through. I'm so sick of Republicans unwilling to fight fire with fire. Now is your moment, and get it done.
Of course, figuratively speaking, a mic drop right there. Caroline Wren, America First Patriot. Thanks for what you do. You can follow her on X at Caroline Wren. Thank you again, Caroline.
Thank you.
All right, great to interview the American Patriot in Florida, Caroline Wren, of course, all over conservative media, but really on the right side of history, doing great things for this country. We're going to get into some developing news that we just saw here in a second. Before we do, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. Mother's Day, of course, is right around the corner. And while most people are thinking about flowers or dinner plans, there's something else worth thinking about: her health and being prepared. Moms are always taking care of everyone else. The second someone gets sick, they're the first to take in and step in and help. It's time we take care of them too. Right now, All Family Pharmacy is running a Mother's Day sale, 35% off everything on their site with code RSBN35. This is your chance to get ahead because you don't have to wait till something comes up. Be prepared with allergy medications, everyday prescriptions, emergency medications, from hormone and thyroid support to weight loss, energy, antibiotics, antivirals, even anti-aging and hair support. It's all in one place. You can order online and they handle everything for you without the runaround. So just get your prescription approved by a doctor and the company will ship it to your door. So take care of the women who take care of everyone else. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Again, 35% off. So just use that RSBN 35 promo code. This sale goes until Monday, May 11th. Also, Birch Gold Group, one of another great sponsors here on Right Side. When there are supply constraints on commodities, prices surge. You see it with fuel prices when the Strait of Hormuz was blockaded. And we also know that gold is a limited commodity. They mine it out of the ground, and when it's gone, it's gone. And governments can't just print more of it. And that's why everyone from central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. So if you've been thinking about it for years, but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. Now through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. For details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold, text Trump to the number you see on your screen there, 989898. Birch Gold can actually help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Text Trump to the number 989898 to see if you qualify for that first-time gold buyer rebate of up to $10,000. All right, let's move on as it's 10:53 Eastern Time. We're seeing a report from Disclose.tv and also NBC that Virginia's Supreme Court blocks new Democrat-drawn congressional map from taking effect, ruling that the state legislature began their constitutional amendment process too late to be lawful. So if you remember, this was all being discussed with Abigail Spanberger, the so-called governor there in Virginia. Well, the Virginia Supreme Court has blocked new Democrat-drawn congressional map from taking effect. That, according to reports. We're monitoring that here on Right Side. In the meantime, we're approaching the top of the hour. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. As I just mentioned, that story that we're tracking now, Virginia's Supreme Court has blocked the new Democrat-drawn congressional map from taking effect. So we're told that the ruling that the state legislature began their constitutional amendment process too late to be lawful. So that's what we're seeing right now. Specifically, of course, that is a big news for the state of Virginia or the Commonwealth of Virginia when it comes to the amount of various seats in the Senate and the House there. President Trump just recently on Truth Social saying, huge win for the Republican Party and America in Virginia. The Virginia Supreme Court has just struck down the Democrats' horrible gerrymander. Make America great again, President Donald J. Trump. So we'll cover that story. We'll talk about that a bit later, and we'll show you that Truth Social post as it just was posted literally minutes ago. Speaking of Truth Social, let's go to the Trump on Truth segment from February. The president posted the following. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects, of course, UFOs, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. The president said, God bless America. Well, today, the Department of War released those files. President Trump asked for this to be released in February. Here are some of those images from the Department of War. Specifically, you can go right now. So say you're watching us on an iPad or Microsoft Surface or maybe on the TV or a laptop or wherever you're watching. But you can also go to war.gov/UFO. You can check out all of these photos yourself of various phenomena that you see there on your screen. So you can check that out. And underneath each of these photos, there's an explanation of what you're looking at and some of the questions surrounding what the objects are. So again, war.gov/UFO. This all just released. That just an image, just a rendering, of course. That one there is specifically just a rendering, of course. So, I mean, if we had a picture of that, a real one, holy smokes, that'd be interesting too. war.gov/UFO. Meantime, the U.S. Department of Labor has released the April jobs report today as 115,000 private sector jobs have been added last month. As you see there, there's the infographic from the U.S. Department of Labor. So that's another story that we're tracking here on Right Side. Of course, there's a ton of stories to talk about, a lot going on out there. Glad to bring you some of the news of today as well. We have a number of live interviews coming up as we get ready to see President Trump a bit later today, specifically in about, I think it's at 12 o'clock Eastern, so in about an hour from now, but we have a couple live interviews to get to before that. But specifically at 12 o'clock, the president will deliver remarks at the Rose Garden as he hosts Angel Moms, Gold Star Mothers, for Mother's Day, a luncheon there, that per the Daily Wire on an exclusive report. So, yeah, so we're going to have that for you. Of course, the Angel Moms, when it comes to the horrific crimes that have been carried out by illegal aliens in this country, criminal illegal aliens, and then also Gold Star Mothers, of course, when it comes to specifically the military, anybody that was lost at war or through training exercises. And so we're going to have that event coming up at the top of the hour. In the meantime, let's go now live to our first guest of the broadcast. Joining us now is Alvin Leo, the president of Courage is a Habit. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side.
Matthew, it's such a pleasure to see you again. Thank you so much for having me back.
Definitely. Thanks so much for what you're doing out there in the country. And one of the stories I heard that you're working on is that there are furious parents are now demanding the removal of federal funding for over 20 North Carolina public schools. Why?
Well, they've been doing exactly what they've always said they were going to do. Turn our children into social justice activists. And so the story you're referring to is in North Carolina, where thousands and thousands of kids didn't have school, or they were marching because the teachers union took the May 1st to march for, you name it, anything left wing. Trans rights, climate changeism, Trump is a Nazi, all the usual. And so what we've discovered at Courage is a Habit is, and this is all 50 states, right? This is what the teachers unions are doing, what the government K through 12 is doing. One of the things that we've discovered is everybody starts off with the wrong premise. And what I mean by that, Matthew, is they'll go, I can't believe they're doing that. Why aren't the kids in the classroom? Why are they marching? Well, our response is the kids are marching because they've been in the classroom. You see, the premise is there's a majority of Americans still believe that government K through 12 is about math, reading, writing, and core academics. That is not the purpose of government K through 12. The purpose of government K through 12 is doing exactly what you've seen. Children marching to protect illegal aliens. Trump's a Nazi. Climate changeism. You can be born in the wrong body. So when people see the dismal academic scores, they go, I'm shocked. But you wouldn't be shocked if you understood that academics, it's just an afterthought. But if you look at the results of what the kids are, their mental health is in the toilet. They believe white people bad, America is oppressive. Now, if you look at the purpose of government K through 12 and then you see the results, that matches very well. So when people say government K through 12 is a failure, I said, no, there's not a failure. They're extremely successful. So I want everyone to start changing their premise, because if you don't have the right premise, you're always going to be shocked. And so what we did for the parents is that if you go to courageishabit.org right now, click on Tool of the Week, we have a toolkit for you. It's called the 5 teacher union lies that manipulate parents. The 5 teacher union lies. And we tell you the 5 lies I always tell you. It's about class sizes, more teacher pay, that kind of thing. We explain to you what they're really doing, and then we give you a turnkey letter that every parent should copy and paste to their schools. Very easy. And then we want the schools to be flooded with them.
Isn't this all about corrupt curriculum at the end of the day from the woke mind virus perspective?
Yes, of course it's about the curriculum. It's always about the curriculum. But curriculum is about intelligence. It's about trying to educate your children towards that Marxist ideology. But something sinister is happening in schools, even beyond the curriculum, Matthew, and that's the mental health. It always gets by people. Because when you're brainwashing somebody intellectually, arguably you can also reverse that by showing them facts and logic and things like that later on. But when you manipulate someone emotionally, it's not an intellectual brainwashing, it's a discipleship. And so what they're doing to your children, it's not an intellectual as much as it is a belief system. And like a religion, it's almost impossible to get out once you change the belief system. And so that comes through mental health. And so here's some terms that get by parents. Be kind, anti-bullying, empathy, social emotional. Those things are how they're get the emotional brainwashing, which is a lot more devastating than the intellectual curriculum brainwashing, which is obviously very much part of government K through 12.
That answer is a grand slam home run, because that's exactly what's going on, not only in schools, but in some political circles. That is the way of brainwashing, is emotionally get someone involved, pull them in with the heart, then the mind will follow. The emotions, well, the mind usually dictates where the emotions go, but still, if they're getting it to the mind and the emotion on those kind of reasons, that it's, you need to feel a certain way and kind of teach them this whole thing, that is exactly how it's done. So specifically, to get back to some of the stats on this story. So again, just imagine you're a parent in one of these school districts around the country. Well, this happened in North Carolina. If you're just joining us, furious parents are now demanding the removal of federal funding for more than 20 North Carolina public schools after they engaged in mass coordinated teacher-led anti-Trump walkouts, forcing the cancellation of classes for more than 700,000 kids. So these are great American patriot families, right? Or people, even if they're not even in political, they're just like, oh, whatever, I just want to be free and leave my kid alone, teach them history, teach them math. Don't inject your woke mind virus through emotion, through the mind anyway. So the parents are upset. 700,000 kids had their classes canceled because of these walkouts. So this is something that we almost see back in the COVID era, when I remember covering it from at a local station where the parents were really upset that the kids had to be forced to wear masks. We're talking kids that are elementary school and all of that. You know what I mean? Like, just lay your hands off the kids. Don't put masks on. You can't force them to do something like that. And then also their mind and their heart, so valuable.
Well, if you look at what you just said, I'm so glad you brought that up, because the kids who were masked at elementary and middle school, now that was 6 years ago, a lot of those kids never took it off. And even if they physically, you can literally, they never took it off. They're still masking. If you go out to and I challenge anybody, if you go out to a grocery store, anybody, like anywhere, restaurant, fast food, most of the people who are masking are very young people, because they've made them scared of everything. They scare the hell out of these kids. And so now it's very easy to get them to do anything you want, because they're scared of white supremacy and police killing black people, and trans people are getting annihilated, and genocide, and they're scared of air itself. And so that is a very useful tool. And so what they're doing is that they're creating a generation of children that they wake up with anxiety. They wake up in fear, because that is what they're drilling into them. And that's what I mean by that emotion. Because even if you can show them stats now, 6 years later, and you go, look, COVID only affected really obese people with heart problems and they're old. It doesn't matter, because the facts can't break through the wall of that emotional manipulation.
That's that emotional attachment to when you hear the word COVID, or you hear the word Trump, or you hear the word whatever. They really, man, it's powerful. The whole brainwashing.
It's a hypnosis.
Thing is, yeah, exactly.
It's a hypnosis.
Yeah, they really get in there and get in that system there. Outside of the education system, so this is what's wild about all of this, is the word corruption. I believe, and correct me or not correct me, but just let's debate if we need to, but I believe there's corruption in a lot of areas. There could be corruption at a police force, but 99% of the officers are awesome, right side of history people. My dad was a detective, a great guy, you know what I mean? My point is, there could be that one bad apple. Same thing in education, same thing in politics. It's also in social media specifically that the brainwashing, and I know we're preaching to the choir, and I know this isn't anything new, but just talking about this, I think really refreshes people's minds on this is a war of good versus evil, trying to get the minds of the youth, not only through education, but through social media.
Oh, for sure. Because if your children are in government K through 12 for 7 hours a day, and then they come home and you have them on social media, there's no chance that their brain's ever going to come off of that.
Wow.
And now, and I want to point, and if you in your wonderful show, you've covered the No Kings protests quite a bit. I know that. And so if you look at the No Kings protests, okay, they're very old, mostly white people. Mostly white women, but a lot of old, weak men. But why is that? Why is it these old people are sounding exactly like a 17-year-old? Because never in the realm of human history, Matthew, unless you're talking about a grandmother and granddaughter where they share family values, a 70-year-old woman and a 17-year-old woman have nothing in common. They don't have the same taste in music, movies, culture, nothing, no language. Why is it that we saw the 70-year-old woman screaming at a No Kings protest, but when you go to like one of these like trans rights, Antifa or whatever, climate change, where there's mostly young, they sound the same. They talk about Trump the same. They talk about America the same, white people the same. Why is that? Because the old white people, the No Kings people, are getting the brainwashing from legacy media. The 17-year-old is getting it from government K through 12. But the system that controls legacy media and government K through 12 are identical. That's why you see a 70-year-old woman and a 17-year-old girl sound exactly the same when they're screaming out in the streets. That's impossible unless there is a coordinated umbrella effort to do exactly what you said through media, social media, because the old people get it through media, the young people get it through social media and education. And
then on top of that, there's an enhancement that happens when it comes to leftists that are so-called anti-ICE or protesters. The enhancement's called dollars and cents, getting paid by various entities that are also within the whole system. Isn't it wild, just to make it very clear for people? And I know that most people know about this already, which is awesome. And you know what? Shout out to President Donald J. Trump for taking on the establishment, for taking on the fake news media, for taking this on and really encouraging a country, and not only that, a world, to stand up for freedom.
Absolutely, because this is not a war of facts. It's not a war on policy. It's a war of emotion, and more specifically, emotional blackmail. Because the thing, Matthew, is that the great majority of Americans are really good people, very kind-hearted, very open, very willing to give the shirt off your back. That's the majority of people in America across all 50 states. The problem is when you have communism comes in, that's a very bad matchup because they're weaponizing people's empathy, they're weaponizing people's kindness. And so one of the things that we often hit at Courage is a Habit, whether it's in education or outside, is to practice the devastating trait of indifference. Because being indifferent is actually a horrible trait when it comes to your interpersonal relationships, because if you're indifferent, that can destroy your personal relationships really, really quickly, because nothing hurts more than telling a loved one that you actually don't care. But that same trait, when applied to these dishonest woke activists, the pushers, the useful idiots of the woke mind virus, indifference it's horrible for them because they have no leverage over you when you go, oh well. So let's take this what I call the midterm virus. The midterm virus that's coming around. They're going to say, oh, so-and-so's dying, I'm suffering. And the natural reaction for people is to go, well, and then start doing science. Oh, the percentage of this, midterm virus. I disagree. Don't fight on facts and logic. Just go, that's on you. If you're afraid, then stay home. Well, I can't stay home. Well, then you deal with it. And that seems very cruel to good people, but that indifference, it's not hate, it's not love. You go right in the middle and says, that's on you. It's not nothing to do with me. And when you say that, they have no toolkit. There's no tool in their woke toolbox to know how to deal with indifference. They only work when they can weaponize your empathy.
And finally, the thing that's, I think, the most upsetting about it, I mean, there's a ton that can get people up in arms or upset, but specifically when you have a good-hearted person that has been brainwashed for evil. How many people do we know that would say they're Democrat, or they're like, oh, I don't like Trump because of this, or oh, I don't like freedom because of that, or not freedom, but you know what I mean. But sure. they're good-hearted people. They're out there maybe giving to a charity. They're out there doing a marathon. They're out there, just being friendly, being cool. You can laugh about whatever, talk about whatever with them. But when it comes to politics, they're like, oh, no. That is the one that I'm upset about, because you think about all these protesters, you think about people, maybe your colleagues at work, and you think about all these people, and they're good-hearted people. They just got effed up right there, didn't they?
They did. And I think there's a lot of people who are what I call the Bill Clinton Democrats. If you listen to Bill Clinton back then, he was every bit he's actually harsher about the closed border than some of these squishy Republicans sometimes today. And so those people genuinely believe that they're doing good. And the media has a beautiful way, and you have to admire it, even though it's downright evil. They're very good at getting good people to do good things to do evil things in the name of good. And the way they do that is that they always present a truth and they surround it with lies. And when you present a truth and you surround it with lies, the human brain, especially when they believe in good faith, if you approach it in good faith, they think you're approaching in good faith, and you take a lie or take a truth and surround it with lies, the human brain has a hard time reverse engineering that and saying, where did I go wrong? Because they only remember the truth. They don't remember the lies that the media takes them through. And they do that in a couple of different ways. They do that with headlines. They do that with short clips. And then they do it with repetition. Repetition is a very powerful brainwashing technique. If I tell you something that's really kind of a lie, if I tell it to you once, you'll be like, okay. But if you, your brother, your mother, your friend, your colleague, if everybody starts saying it, all of a sudden, it's almost like your critical thinking stops, and you start to believe, and you start to believe the people around you, because you do genuinely love and care for them, and you respect them. So if they say it, it must be true. And so the media does that really, really well. They take something small and they start repeating it, which is why for the woke, their mantras are almost never more than 4 words. Love is love, Black Lives Matter, trans rights, human right, no kings. The reason why they do that is because that's repeatable, and it's like a drumming, like a hypnosis, and it just gets drum and drum and drum into people's minds. And so then you've got very good people doing very evil things in the name of good, for example, like open borders, and not understanding that the people that they're screaming about would slit their throats and their families' throats without a second thought. And that's the sad thing about that, because that is the power of the legacy media. This is why, shows like yours is so important, because if not, then you simply don't have another alternative at all. And there's no hope in waking people up at all.
when you drill down to the root of the cause of the good versus evil, you look at the Bible and Satan, Lucifer, the devil, it says
beautiful.
in the Bible that he is an angel of what? Not darkness. He's an angel of light. So he comes at you with, hey, look at this truth here. But right after that one little level of that, then you know on the other side of it, it's not going to be good. Just like what you're saying there. This interview, to be honest with you, Alvin, is one of my favorites that I've done out of all the interviews I've done in conservative media, because we really get into the mind of all of this. That reminds me of T.S. Dixon's book, The Woke Mind Viruses. If you get a chance, check that out. The Woke Mind Viruses as well from T.S. Dixon. But a great interview with you, sir. I'm looking forward to posting this one everywhere. And to those that are watching live and on replay, thank you so much for doing so, because this is the information in that so-called information war that really can set people free. And we know what the Bible says, Alvin, right? The truth will set you free. So last word, sir.
Well, I would say for everybody, here's one advice I'm going to give everybody that should help you have some guardrails to kind of shore up your empathy. Every time the media or a teacher or school counselor or anybody tells you we're just doing this, it's just about empathy, it's about protecting your neighbors, all these really soft, beautiful words, ask yourself this one question, and my beautiful co-founders coined this: through whose lens? Through whose lens? If you stop and ask yourself that kind of slows your brain down to go, okay, let me see who's saying this. Because if someone says, oh, I'm just protecting my neighbor, well, if your grandmother says it, we know what she means. But if a Marxist say it, if a trans human rights person, if somebody who hates America wants open borders says it, that's a very different thing. Same thing with empathy, same thing with kindness. Ask yourself, through whose lens? Once you say that, that helps you kind of have some guardrails over your emotions.
Perfect. Alvin Leo, the president of Courage is a Habit. You're a rock star. Thank you so much for doing what you do for this country.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
Thank you. Well, there you go. That's called a mic drop, big time, by Alvin. That was awesome. That was awesome. I love that stuff. All right, let's go to a few of our sponsors here on Right Side. And again, as we move on to our sponsors, guys, we're not playing TV here. We're really doing this because this is what we believe in. We happen to be on TV. Pretty cool kind of combination, though. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy, as Mother's Day is right around the corner. And while most people are thinking about flowers or dinner plans, there's something else worth thinking about: her health and being prepared. Moms are always taking care of everyone else. The second someone gets sick, they're the first to step in and help. And it's time we take care of them too. Right now, All Family Pharmacy is running a Mother's Day sale, as you see there, for 35% off everything on their site with that code RSBN35. So specifically, this is your chance to get ahead. Don't wait until something comes up. You can be prepared with allergy medications, everyday prescriptions, emergency medications, from hormone and thyroid support to weight loss, energy, antibiotics, antivirals, and even anti-aging and hair support. It's all in one place. You order online and they handle everything for you without the runaround. So you can get your prescription approved by a doctor and the company will ship it straight to your door. So take care of the women who take care of everything else and everyone else. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN35 promo code. The offer ends Monday, May 11th. Let's go to Birch Gold Group. When there are supply constraints on commodities, prices surge. It's kind of a cause and effect thing, right? Well, you saw it with fuel prices when the Strait of Hormuz was blockaded. And you know what else is a limited commodity? Gold. They mine it out of the ground, and when it's gone, it's gone. So governments can't just print more of it, and that's why everyone from central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. If you've been thinking about it for years but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. Now through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. That'd be quite the amount. For details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold, text Trump to the number 989898 that you see there on your screen. Now, Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. So all you have to do to get the ball rolling, just text Trump to 989898. This is to see if you qualify for that first-time gold buyer rebate of up to $10,000. You'll also get that free info kit on gold. Great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, if you're just joining us right now, this is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Coming up at the top of the hour on this Friday at 12 Eastern Time, 9 a.m. out there on the West Coast. The president will deliver remarks at the Rose Garden as he hosts Angel Moms, Gold Star Moms. This is all for a Mother's Day luncheon, that according to an exclusive report from the Daily Wire. So we're looking forward to seeing that coming up in about 40 minutes from now. In about 10 minutes, last check, we will be going to a spokeswoman from Freedom 250, all talking about the huge party for our country coming up in July. Of course, a lot going on June 14th. Before we get to June and July, we have this month still, of course, to get through. And we know President Trump and the First Lady will be headed to China on May 14th and 15th. So you can check out all this coverage and various things surrounding it right here on RSBN. Let's take another quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. If you get a chance, go ahead and send us some patriotic photos. I mean, if it's a flag outside your house or something like that, or anything patriotic would be cool. Just obviously you don't have to show any addresses or anything like that. And if you'd like, email feedback@rsbn.tv, feedback@rsbn.tv, as we showed up a photo the other day from someone named Trish out there in our country, but also a loyal viewer here at Right Side. All right, let's do this. Let's go back to a few videos in case you missed them. Also, for those of you that are just joining us, welcome into the broadcast. Let's go to the First Lady of the United States. Of course, we know that she has the Be Best campaign. Let's take a look.
The world doesn't move for those who stop. The past year, with discipline and focus, I have enacted several initiatives to benefit our children. Take It Down Act is the first piece of legislation that I supported within the first 100 days. Fostering the Future has expanded coast to coast. $30 million towards HUD's 2026 budget to support housing for America's foster youth. All 50 states are participating in the Presidential AI Challenge. Almost 3,000 schools nationwide joined the White House AI workshop. Over the past 2 months, America sat at the intersection of youth, technology, and education on global stage. I'm honored to have had an opportunity to address the United Nations Security Council about the importance of peace through education. Leaders from almost 50 nations joined me at the White House and the State Department for Fostering the Future Together's Global Coalition Summit. I completed the 4th reunification of Ukrainian and Russian children with their families. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve as First Lady, but understand that my persistence alone is not enough. Please join me in advancing the Be Best Fostering the Future initiative nationwide.
All right, so let's go from the office of the First Lady to talk about the Small Business Summit that happened earlier in the week. Of course, it is National Small Business Week, and we love our small businesses out there. Thank God for so many of them across this country. And also, it's National Nurses Week as well, as my wife and I, of course, just welcomed our newborn son into the world. Thank God for that. And thank God for the nurses that took care of my wife and my son as well. So it's pretty awesome to see various things that are highlighted. And of course, Mother's Day coming up. So we'll be going to that live event coming up at the Rose Garden. Again, Angel Moms and Gold Star Moms invited to this event at the Rose Garden. We know that President Trump will deliver remarks. This is happening at 12 o'clock Eastern Time on this Friday, May 8th. Speaking of the small businesses, however, let's go back to that small business summit. A few highlights from the White House.
Thrilled to be with you and welcome you to the most fabulous place, the White House is. As we celebrate National Small Business Week, let me begin by saying congratulations to the small business people of the year from all 50 states. As small business owners and operators, the people in this room represent the 36 million small businesses who create 40% of all economic activity in the United States. Our policies protect you and reward you.
We feel that support from the administration down in South Carolina every single day, and that's been a big benefit for us.
There are many policies that have benefited my company and my employees. As a business owner, I take great comfort in knowing that we have leadership that knows how business works.
First time in a long time that we've had somebody like the president step up and put some policies in place that have helped our employees. One of those that's been very impactful this year is the no tax on tips and the no tax on overtime.
We consider Donald Trump as the first Made in America president. He's really pushing for manufacturing in the United States.
To be invited to the White House today is such an honor. It really shows that President Trump cares about small businesses.
The idea of a working family tax cut that allows the businesses, small businesses, to take that cash and reinvest it in their team, their employees, products, and innovation to continue to grow their business is really important.
President Trump's tariffs have been such a huge thing for us and our business. All of these jobs were going to China, and with his tariffs, he's brought them back to America.
You're the lifeblood of the American economy, and with your help, we're truly making America great again.
He's amazing. He's done so much for all of us. Literally, he's going to go down as maybe the best president ever. I love this guy.
You are the most pro-growth, pro-small business president in American history.
I would like to thank you, Mr. President, for restarting and rebooting our economy.
I want to congratulate everybody in the room. You're fantastic people. Really, this is the golden age of America. I really believe it.
It's been quite the busy week at the White House. Of course, we'll take you there in just about 30 minutes. This all brought to you by Kalshi.com/RSBN. Of course, as I mentioned, every time we talk about Kalshi, there's the three ways, the trifecta of ways to get to Kalshi. Of course, the QR code that you see there on your screen, or go to Kalshi.com/RSBN, or you can download the app in your app store. Now, there's a number of trending political topics out there that people are putting money on the line for, and also simply checking out the polls on how people are either betting, trading, or just voting in a way. The LA mayor race is one of the things that people are really paying attention to, specifically in California as well, the gubernatorial race. So the mayoral and gubernatorial, so we got a lot going on there. And then down in Texas, the state Republican primary. So a lot of topics from sports to faith to music to politics, weather, all sorts of stuff right there. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Let's also go to Cove Pure, another great sponsor here at Right Side. And of course, you've heard us talk about the problems that happened in Flint, Michigan and East Palestine, Ohio. And if those problems weren't enough to get you to make the switch, this might, because more than 176 million Americans are drinking tap water with those PFAs in it. They're those man-made chemicals used in food packaging, nonstick cookware, firefighting foam. Scientists call them forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they stay there and they don't break down. And they're also linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But this is the part that a number of people are upset about as well, because the EPA, doing their job, they set legal limits for these PFAs in drinking water back in 2024. But water systems have until 2031 to comply. That's 5 whole years from now. Until that deadline arrives, the utility can be operating above the legal limit right now, and it's not required to notify you, so you're just drinking that water. That's why every single household needs Cove Pure, because the government, they know these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it quite yet, which means If you want clean, healthy water, you're going to have to do this yourself. And Cove Pure was actually engineered exactly for this. Now, unlike the normal pitcher filters that you see out there at the store, their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So the PFAs or heavy metals or fluoride, pharmaceuticals, filtering particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. And the best part, of course, about Cove Pure is to make this thing so easy it sits right on your countertop. So it does a lot of work for you, but you don't have to drill any holes or call someone in to install it. You just plug it in. You can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm, with a tap of a button. So you don't have to wait till 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. Head to covepure.com/RSBN. And because you're a viewer of Right Side Broadcasting Network, get that $250 off. This is an investment, but it is so worth it. Clean, healthy water. No aftertaste, no junk in the water. Good stuff right there. Covepure.com. Drink pure, live pure. Cove Pure, great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It is the bottom of the hour. We're getting ready to go to the White House. We have 30 minutes yet, so why don't we take some time talking about Freedom 250. The spokeswoman, Julia Friedland, is joining us right now to talk to us about Freedom 250. Julia, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey there, thanks for having me.
Definitely. We're really excited about this, of course, the 250th coming up. So can you talk to us about some of the events that will be happening?
Absolutely. For the viewers that do not know, Freedom 250 is a public-private partnership between companies, federal agencies, and states to celebrate America's 250th birthday, which will be taking place this July 4th, 2026. So it's America's 250th birthday, and everyone is invited. Coming up here on May 17th will be a large faith gathering, in which we call people from all over the country to join us in Washington, D.C. on the National Mall for sunrise worship, all the way through the entire day. This is a call to action. Faith is at a central point here before we celebrate our 250th birthday in July. Also, something that's coming up July 4th is the Great American State Fair, in which every state and territory will be represented. It's 3 weeks long. And as I said, July 4th will actually be the 250th birthday of America. And on that day, we'll have an extremely large fireworks show. So it'll be very exciting. So June 25th through July 10th is the Great American State Fair. Every state and territory will be represented. We'll have the Triumphal Arch there. We'll have a 110-foot Ferris wheel. We will have a carousel that actually dates back to 1967 and was a gift from the Smithsonian. So a lot of good things to come. Freedom 250 is at the center of all these things, calling together every American, every state and territory to celebrate our 250th birthday.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we're looking forward to seeing that and covering all of that. But the reflecting pool, I mean, the president just yesterday going down there with the Secret Service, I mean, that will add to the backdrop there. It'll look great. Julia, let's talk about Freedom 250, America 250, and also specifically, before you were with Freedom 250, what was it about your political kind of stance or just your love for freedom that got you the gig that you have there at Freedom 250?
Definitely. I've been involved in Republican politics for quite a long time. I've always had a great pride in America and love our country. And I think that's what drove me to the Republican Party. And when President Trump became president, he put pride in America under every single thing he did. It's America first. That's why he won twice. That's what his entire agenda has been. So I was drawn to the Republican Party and President Trump because of this. And I'm just really happy to play a part in celebrating America's 250th birthday because our history is nothing to shy away from. I think faith should underlie every single celebration that we have in celebration of America. And I'm just proud to be an American.
Amen. Same here. And many people that are watching on the Right Side of History right now, live or on replay, agreeing with you. Also, May 17th, is it Christian artist Chris Tomlin will be there, right?
Correct. We'll have a great lineup of speakers, performers. We're all there to celebrate America. We're going to have speaker Mike Johnson. We're going to have Secretary of War Pete Hegseth there as well. So a lot of good faith leaders as well. So we're bringing together political leaders, faith leaders, and performers, all with the underlying love for America. It'll be great. You can get your tickets on freedom250.org.
All right, we're looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Julia Friedland, the Freedom 250 spokeswoman. Thanks so much, and have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yep. Awesome stuff there. So a little bit of an update for freedom250.org. So great stuff there. I've been checking out some of it too, and a lot of different various photos and renderings of what it will look like as well as we get ready to celebrate that for our country. Let's go to a few of our sponsors in the meantime as we await the Rose Garden speech by the president. All Family Pharmacy, as you see there. Mother's Day is right around the corner, as you know. And while most people are thinking about flowers or dinner plans, there's something else worth thinking about: her health and being prepared. Moms, of course, are always taking care of everyone else. The second someone gets sick, they're the first to step in and help. It's time we take care of them too. Right now, All Family Pharmacy is running that Mother's Day sale, 35% off everything on their site with code RSBN35. This is your chance to get ahead. Don't wait until something comes up. Be prepared with allergy medications, everyday prescriptions, emergency medications. This is all from hormone and thyroid support to weight loss, energy, antibiotics, antivirals, even anti-aging and hair support. It's all in one place there at All Family Pharmacy, and you order online and they handle everything for you without the runaround. Get your prescription approved by a doctor and the company will ship it to your door. Take care of the women who take care of everyone else. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN 35 promo code. This sale ends on May 11th, so Monday, May 11th. Let's also go to our next sponsor here on right side. As you see there, Birch Gold Group. When there are supply constraints on commodities, prices surge. You saw it with the fuel prices out there when the Strait of Hormuz was blockaded. And we know that gold is also a limited commodity. They mine it out of the ground, and when it's gone, it's gone. So governments can't just print more of it, and that's why everyone from central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. And if you've been thinking about it for years, but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. So now through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. So you can get details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold. Just text Trump to the number 989898. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. So just text that name there, Trump, to the number 989898. This is to see if you qualify for a first-time gold buyer rebate of up to $10,000. Again, it's Trump to 989898. You'll get that free info kit as well. It's 11:37. It's Friday, and it's May 8th. Thanks again for live streaming in with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go over a few videos in case you missed it as we continue on with this live broadcast. Also, Alvin Leo with Courage is a Habit joined us at about 11 Eastern time. If you're just joining us now, a great interview with him, just breaking down a lot of things. Just trust me on this one. Hopefully you trust me on everything when it comes to all the reporting here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. But at the end of the day, just like you know, I heard something today, actually. I was watching another network, and there was somebody speaking about South Carolina, and it was a Democrat, and they were saying something about ordinary people and the ordinary people in South Carolina, X, Y, and Z, and they were talking about some story, right? And I thought to myself, do you remember the other day I was talking about average Americans? I can't stand, and I might have in the past ever used the word average Americans, I don't know, but I just don't think there are any average Americans. I just don't think anybody's an ordinary South Carolinian, you know what I mean? We the people are in the greatest country on earth. We're the freest country on earth, and we want to keep it that way. So I would say the same for any country when it comes to the people that want to be free. The free world versus, it's the 8 billion basically, the 8 billion people versus the 800 globalist elite class that's trying to take out humanity in a way. That's not conspiracy theory, that's true. We can go facts and evidence and receipts if you want. You already know that though, a lot of you do. But my point is, no more calling citizens ordinary. You guys aren't ordinary, I'm not ordinary. We are in America. We the people, if you're a citizen of this country. And then if you are a citizen of another nation and you love freedom and you don't want some tyrannical dictator above you, you are also not an ordinary Brazilian. You know what I mean? Anyway, I don't know. And again, it was coming from a leftist Democrat. You can tell that they were just not coming from the right side of history anyway. All right, I went on a little too long there. It's okay though. Let's do this. Let's go to some highlights from the vice president's trip earlier this week in Iowa for clip number 3.
I'm here today to talk a little bit about the stakes in November of 2026.
We're working to make sure that Washington knows that what's made in places like Iowa, what's grown in places like Iowa, not only feed and fuel the world, they're a reflection of our next generation.
Isn't it nice to have a government that finally is fighting for you instead of fighting against you? And that's what we're trying to have in Washington, D.C. If you're building right here in Iowa, if you're making something right here in Iowa, if you're working every single day right here in Iowa, you deserve a tax cut, and that's exactly what we delivered with Congressman Nunn. God bless you guys, and thank you for having me in Iowa.
Okay, so let's go from the vice president to President Trump. In case you missed it, he took the Secret Service team to check out the reflecting pool just yesterday near the Lincoln Memorial. So here's some proof of that.
I'm like, are they driving or just for dramatic? Yeah. They're going in slow motion for us. In the booth.
Oh my God.
Roll the window down. Sorry, we don't have this.
All right, good stuff. Video yesterday from some of the White House staff there as the president checked out the reflecting pool. Of course, the water not in it yet, but it will be soon. So let's go to a few of our sponsors in the meantime as we get ready to go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, specifically the Rose Garden. Let's go now to calshe.com/RSBN. Some of the various political trending topics that people are putting money on a line for are the LA mayoral race, the gubernatorial race in California, and also the Texas state Republican primary. I remember actually going through a few of the political trends recently. It was about the DHS shutdown. Of course, DHS is now fully operational. And then it was also questions about the Strait of Hormuz. So you can check out some of that as well if you'd like. More than 1 million users on calshe.com. Check out the QR code, download the app, or go to calshe.com/RSBN. Also, Cove Pure. And I know we talk about Cove Pure a decent amount here, but here's the point. This is something that is extremely important, at least in my opinion and a number of other people's opinions, because drinking any kind of tap water with a number of chemicals or PFAs or heavy metals or pharmaceuticals in it is a no-no, right? It's not good for you. And the aftertaste, I don't know how people drink tap water, to be honest, and there are people that do, but maybe it's just because it's kind of right there and you just are already paying for the water. But you can go through this machine right here, and you've heard us talk about Cove Pure before, and if the water scares in Flint, Michigan and East Palestine, Ohio weren't enough to make you switch, this might, because more than 176 million Americans are drinking that tap water with the PFAs in it. They're those man-made chemicals used in food packaging, nonstick cookware, firefighting foam. Scientists call them forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they stay there. They don't break down. And then on top of that, they're linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But this is the part that's making people upset, because the EPA, they did the right thing back in 2024. They put legal limits on the PFAs in drinking water, but the water systems across the country have until 2031 to comply. So it's 5 whole years from now. Until that deadline arrives, the utility can be operating above the legal limit of all of this. And is it required to notify you so you're just drinking that water? And that's why every single household needs Cove Pure, because we know the government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it quite yet, which means if you want clean, healthy drinking water, you're going to have to do it yourself. So Cove Pure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike those normal pitcher filters that you see out there at the store, their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. The PFAs, the heavy metals, the fluoride, the pharmaceuticals. It filters particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. The best part about Cove Pure is they make it so easy it sits right there on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call someone in to install it. You just plug it in. You can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, and warm. Again, that's not the tap water that's hot, cold, and warm. That's hot, cold, and warm filtered water through Cove Pure. And that all happens with a tap of a button. So don't wait till 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. You can head to covepure.com/RSBN. And because you're a viewer of this broadcast, you'll get that $250 off right now. covepure.com/RSBN. As we are 15 minutes out from the Rose Garden speech by President Trump. Again, he is holding a Mother's Day luncheon today for angel moms and Gold Star mothers there. And I believe this event will be pretty much right on time. If it's a few minutes late, okay. But I don't think this is going to be one of those that are an hour late when it comes to lunch and the great Gold Star mothers and angel moms that will be there with the president. We're looking forward to hearing from the president and hearing the remarks as well. And then, of course, if there's any breaking news that happens throughout the day or over the weekend, of course, we'll be here for you, whether it's live right here in the studio or at least be uploading various videos. If you remember the White House Correspondents Association dinner breaking news, we were here live on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock Eastern time, covering that live here, and a number of people joined us for that. So we're covering news every day here, Monday through Friday, and if needed on the weekend on various events or live coverage. But on top of the actual news of the day when it comes to what the president's up to with the White House and all of that. So glad you're with us here on Right Side, and glad you're with us in conservative media as a whole, because what you're going to get here in conservative media is something that is, I believe, much better than the mainstream media. Why? I'm not reading a script right now from a teleprompter from some woke producer or news director that's telling me I have to say this or that. You know what I mean? So it's people that, not only myself, of course, there's plenty of people in conservative media. There are great podcasters out there and great citizen journalists. So we're all kind of on the same side of history, right? And on top of that, you have the online publications like the Daily Caller and the Gateway Pundit, and the list goes on. But great to be a part of that new media ecosystem that is interesting, because a lot of people that maybe in the mainstream media now, whether it's local TV stations out there or wherever, they could start saying, hey, you know what? I want to make that move too, because that's what I believe. We just haven't had a huge conservative media base and to where it's growing and going right now. And now it's happening. So this is a great solution to the problem called legacy media. There you go. Anyway. Let's go to, Director, did we go to the video of the highlights from the Vice President in Iowa already? I think we did. Okay, let's do that. Let's do this. Let's travel outside the D.C. Beltway to Mississippi, where residents there have entered day 2 of cleanup after 14 tornadoes. 14 tornadoes in one night. Touchdown there, destroyed anywhere from 400 to 500 homes, or at least caused damage to those homes. Reports via local reports in Mississippi, 17 people injured, no deaths, thank God, but that was in just one night. So the storm season, of course, just heating up, unfortunately, but that's part of what happens, of course, in the South. But 14 tornadoes in one night. Approximately 400 to 500 homes either damaged or destroyed, 17 injured. Speaking of insanity, whatever you're doing right now, if you get a chance, unless you're driving, check out this. A 19-year-old woman says she's alive by the grace of God after her car was split in half by an alleged drunk driver who ran a red light. The driver that survived, identified as Demi, said, I was heading southbound on Schorner Road when a drunk driver ran the red light going 80 miles per hour on Hall Road. But she said, I walked away with no major injuries by the grace of God. And according to Demi, she was taken to the hospital and suffered no major injuries. Let's take a look at this video. Only one word, wow. I've covered a number of terrible stories out there when it comes to car accidents. I've seen a lot. Never seen something like that. And then the person comes out with barely being injured. Talk about a miracle, or talk about just being at the right part of the car at the right time. I mean, wow. Let's just show the video one more time in case you missed it. Again, 19-year-old woman. She says she's alive by the grace of God after her car was split in half by an alleged drunk driver who ran a red light. Let's take a look at that video from X Alerts once again. All right, enough showing that video because I know it's intense just to see it, especially if you've ever been in a car accident before, but it's just still, I saw that video, I was like, wow. All right, let's go to a few of our sponsors and we'll move on with some of the news that's happening today. Mother's Day, of course, is right around the corner, and while most people are thinking about flowers or dinner plans, there's something else worth thinking about: her health and being prepared. Of course, moms are always taking care of everyone else. The second someone gets sick, they're the first to step in and help. It's time we take care of them too. Right now, All Family Pharmacy is running a Mother's Day sale, 35% off everything on their site with code RSBN35. So this is your chance to get ahead. You don't have to wait till something comes up. Be prepared with allergy medications, everyday prescriptions, emergency medications, everything from hormone and thyroid support to weight loss, energy, antibiotics, antivirals, even anti-aging and hair support. It's all in one place. You order online, they handle everything for you without the runaround, so you can get your prescription approved by a doctor and the company will ship it to your door. Take care of the women who take care of everyone else. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN35 promo code. This deal, this sale, ends on Monday, May 11th, and usually it's 10% off. It's an RSBN 10 promo code. So this is quite the sale going on right now, and it's site-wide, specifically every product on allfamilypharmacy.com, 35% off. Great stuff right there for that American independent pharmacy. Also, this brought to you by a number of other great sponsors, including Birch Gold. Of course, we've been talking about the supply constraints on commodities. We know that prices will surge, and we see it with fuel prices, with the Strait of Hormuz being blockaded. And we also know that gold is a limited commodity, so they mine it out of the ground, and when it's gone, it's gone. So governments can't just print more of it, and that's why everyone from central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. And if you've been thinking about it for years but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. Now through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of, get this, up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. For details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold, just text Trump to that number, 989898. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Again, text Trump to the number 989898 to see if you qualify for a first-time gold buyer rebate of up to $10,000. There's the information right there. Again, get that free info kit as well. Text Trump to 989898. In a story we're tracking on Disclose.tv and NBC, Virginia's Supreme Court has blocked the new Democrat-drawn congressional map from taking effect, a ruling that the state legislature began their constitutional amendment process too late to be lawful. President Trump having this to say on Truth Social about it: huge win for the Republican Party and America in Virginia. The Virginia Supreme Court has just struck down the Democrats' horrible gerrymander. Make America Great Again, President Donald J. Trump. So we think of the Commonwealth of Virginia. You think of maybe, if you're a political nerd like me a little bit, I'm not the biggest history buff in the world, but I know some stuff, right? So 1608, the English settlers went to Jamestown, Virginia. It started right there in that state. Without Virginia, there was no America, right? So this is what happened back in 1608. Quite the history there as we get ready to celebrate our nation's founding coming up July 4th. And of course, there's a number of celebrations happening throughout the country. I mean, June 14th alone outside that White House that you see behind me will be quite the event on the South Lawn with the UFC fight and the whole stage and the performers and all the things. Prior to that, May 17th, of course, we're going to have the National Mall there with the Rededicate 250. Christian artist Chris Tomlin and others will be performing. We had the spokeswoman from Freedom 250 join us just about half an hour ago. So if you missed that, you can share that interview as well if you'd like. And a lot of other things going on, including the president's trip to China coming up, I believe, next week. So it's May 14th and 15th. He will be accompanied by the First Lady on that trip as well. So we're less than 180 days from the midterm elections, and there's a lot of primaries going on throughout the country, including the gubernatorial primary for California it will be happening soon. So we'll see how that all happens. It'd be great to see a Republican out there as a governor in California. Let's go to some more news of the day. President Trump in February posted the following: based on the tremendous interest shown, I'll be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs, of course, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. The president said, God bless America. That was February 19th. Well, today, the Department of War released those files, and here are some of the various images. Now, you can go right now to war.gov/UFO to check out various photos on that website, war.gov/UFO. This is all released today. I'm going to go to President Trump's latest Truth Social post talking about this as well. Now, one of the posts that you will see there will be a rendering, so a drawing, not an actual photo. That one is just the rendering of something seen, whatever year that was. You'll find out all these details specifically when you go to war.gov/UFO. You'll see the various pictures, and underneath that is where you'll be able to check out, the location, the year, what was seen, what was questioned with the unidentified flying object. Also, President Trump saying, as for my promise to you, the Department of War, we can keep showing those photos if you'd like, as I'm just going to read some of the post here from President Trump. But regardless, as for my promise to you, the Department of War has released the first tranche of the UFO UAP files to the public for their review and study. In an effort for complete and maximum transparency, it was my honor to direct my administration to identify and provide government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects. Whereas previous administrations have failed to be transparent on this subject, with these new documents and videos, the people can decide for themselves, quote, what the hell is going on, end quote. Have fun and enjoy. President Donald J. Trump saying that at about 11:11 Eastern time. So within the hour, President Trump had that to say. You can check out his post, of course. You might have already seen it. And also the various videos that I think there's maybe only one that's been released. So you can check that out. Again, that is all at war.gov/UFO for those interested. Also, as you see there, we'll be going to the White House for the president's remarks at the Rose Garden. This is all for Mother's Day. This is all for Angel Moms and Gold Star families, Gold Star moms. Of course, Angel Moms are those that have lost a son or a daughter by the hands of illegal criminal aliens. And then also for the Gold Star families, of course, when it comes to the military, losing a service member, whether in training or in a time of war. So that is what will be held coming up in just a few minutes. I really think that this will start any second from now. This as the U.S. Department of Labor releasing the April jobs report today. I believe we have an infographic for that too. But as 115,000 private sector jobs were added just last month. So that's pretty much what we're seeing for the news right now today within this 24/7 news cycle. Of course, there's a ton of stories, like ongoing stories out there, things like past the Save America Act or specifically accountability or transparency when it comes to government and all the things. So there's a lot to talk about. But of course, we here at Right Side Broadcasting Network covering the events that are happening at the White House in Washington, D.C. And in some cases, if you've been with us for the past hour and a half, you've seen some videos like that one video where that car just split in half after a drunk driver hit a vehicle at an intersection, and the person that got hit is okay. There's just minor injuries, and she said it was, quote, by the grace of God. Amen to that. If you didn't get a chance to see that video, you can always replay a little bit of this broadcast as we are live here on Right Side. So any minute from now, we'll be going live to the White House. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to double check on some of the live feeds and see, maybe we'll know a little bit more in just a second right here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. As we stand by, we're going to play a couple interviews for you, some in case you missed it interviews. First one will be with Abigail Jackson, the White House Deputy Press Secretary. We covered a number of topics and news stories in the 24/7 news cycle. And then if we have time, we'll play once again an interview that we had with Michael Kunzler of the All Family Pharmacy. So we have a couple interviews ready for you here as we stand by. And now just real quick note, and I always share this with you because of course when you see us go to maybe an interview or something that maybe was played already, and maybe in case you missed it, just know that as soon as we see a live feed at the White House there, we will take you there directly, even if it's in the middle of the interview. We're actually hearing right now, I hear in the control room a few phone calls, which usually means that the press is about to get this thing going. So Director, should I kind of stand by and not go to the interview, you think? Okay, sounds like we do have some time to go to the interview. So let's do that with Abigail Jackson. Let's go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. White House Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson joins us once again live. Thanks so much for joining us, Abigail.
Yeah, great to be with you.
You too. So the question for you. We finally are at the point where DHS is fully operational. What's your reaction to what was the longest government shutdown in U.S. history?
Well, as you and I have discussed many, many times at this point, frankly, it's ridiculous that the Democrats decided to play politics with the safety and the security of the American people. And while you're right that the shutdown has ended for the majority of the department, there are still long-lasting impacts that the Democrats have inflicted upon the department. Over 1,000 TSA officers totally left the workforce. It's going to take time to hire and train new TSA officers. Security preparedness ahead of events like America 250 and the FIFA World Cup were put on the back burner. The Coast Guard had to literally turn the lights off at some of their stations across the country because they couldn't pay for utility bills, and FEMA disaster relief funds were nearly depleted. So now DHS is kind of left to pick up the pieces and deal with all of that, and the Democrats are just moving on and pretending like they never did this. It's unbelievable to see it, but it's great to see DHS more at the fully operational standpoint. Shifting gears now, let's talk about a number of things from Illinois and Tennessee. I understand Governor J.B. Pritzker at it again, spewing ridiculous political rhetoric. And then on top of that, according to Axios, the Democrat representative of Tennessee's Stephen Cohen recently said, quote, if we had a different president, we wouldn't need the security measures that they are proposing. In fact, if he just stayed in the White House, we wouldn't need the security measures, end quote. What's your reaction to all that? I mean, I think it's deeply concerning that the Democrats are doubling down and tripling down on their insane rhetoric, inciting violence against the president, when this is a man who has survived multiple assassination attempts in the past few years. And, you know, the most recent one at the White House Correspondents Association dinner was, you know, a very, very short time ago. And already we're seeing Democrats come out and blame the president for the attacks against him by deranged radical leftists. I think it's just shameful rhetoric from the Democrats, and it just goes to show you that they will never learn and they will never stop. It seems like at the core of this, I mean, it's, you know, good versus evil, but specifically truth versus lies. And isn't it good to be a part of a White House on the right side of history? Of course, there's lots of work to be done, but still, it's better to be there than under like Kamala Harris. Oh, absolutely. And not only would I say that, but I think the American people would wholeheartedly agree with that. They have a president in office who, despite these attacks from the Democrats, from people like J.B. Pritzker, who say, you know, we want a sanctuary city. We don't want federal law enforcement to remove violent criminal illegal aliens. The president is not backing down. His administration is not backing down. One of the president's key promises was to instill law and order in the country when he was elected, and he is doing just that in Chicago and also across the country. Look at Washington, D.C. He's taken lots of action in our nation's capital to make it safe and beautiful again. And so all of these Democrats spewing dangerous, hateful rhetoric, it's just noise for this administration, because ultimately the president keeps moving ahead and delivering for the American people. So let's shift from Illinois with Pritzker and then this representative in Tennessee to Connecticut, where the governor recently signed a law there that ICE agents aren't allowed to wear masks. How ridiculous is that? I mean, again, I think it's totally misguided from the Democrat Party that instead of focusing on the criminal illegal aliens who are terrorizing American communities, because yes, while the border is closed, we are still dealing with the consequences of Joe Biden's border crisis and the illegal aliens that he let into this country. And instead of focusing on that, Democrats have somehow turned their attention to the brave law enforcement officers who are trying to clean up their streets. It's totally misguided, and really it's dangerous because ICE officers are already facing a huge increase in attacks and assaults against them because of lies like this from Democrat leaders. And Democrats should be working with federal law enforcement to make their community safer, not against them. Exactly. So question for you. So the president on Truth Social just yesterday posted a logo of NICE instead of ICE, right? So the National Yes. Immigration Customs Enforcement. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Thank you again for joining us. But is that going to be the new name? Well, I wouldn't get ahead of the president on any announcements he may or may not be making. But I will say, and what I think the American people agree with as well, it's pretty nice, the work that they do. I can't think of anything nicer than getting dangerous criminal illegal aliens out of American communities. And we're really appreciative of the work they do every single day. Awesome. I agree with you there. And also on top of that, another logo prior to that post, the president re-truthed on Truth Social, and then I saw Eric Trump's post, and then on X as well, the new logo for Donald J. Trump International Airport. How nice will that airport be with all the upgrades? Think about the restaurants, the music being played in the terminals. Your thoughts about that? Well, look at everything that President Trump touches and sets his mind to, and it turns out beautiful. Look at the work he's doing to the White House and to DC, making it beautiful again. And I think the American people can expect just the same there. And how awesome is it that the American people want to honor our president and highlight his accomplishments even while he's still in office. It's great.
Pretty cool stuff. The airport code is now DJT. So good stuff. White House Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson, thanks again for joining us here on Right Side.
Great to join you.
Thank you. All right, so great to speak with the White House press secretary there, specifically the deputy press secretary. Of course, the great Caroline Levitt on maternity leave. Congratulations to her. And also, how awesome is Caroline Levitt when it comes to the press and handling the fake news? But also, you know, prior to her being press secretary, there was a number of times that she appeared on Right Side Broadcasting Network as well, as she was with MAGA Inc. And a spokesperson for that on the campaign trail. Remember all of those various President Trump speeches and rallies and events, whether it was in Iowa or Arizona or Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina, just the list goes on. So quite the experience here at Right Side Broadcasting Network since 2022. I remember the first rally covering in Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, when the then candidate walked out in front of a packed arena there, chanting USA and cheering as God Bless the USA was playing and all of that. So we remember all of those days here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. But moving forward, of course, always looking from the perspective of and the lens of freedom. What will provide freedom for this nation to continue until Jesus returns to earth? You know what I mean? So that's really the main goal, at least for me as a journalist, is what will advance freedom. It's, if you want to call it a freedom fighter, call it a freedom fighter. Legally, lawfully, spiritually, let's get the job done. Let's pass the Save America Act. Let's have transparency and accountability as needed for our country. And let's, you know, not have to talk about such awful things. It would be great to, I don't know if we could ever really get back to what it was like back in the day in the sense of, you know, just relax and just, you know, enjoy sports and not worry about politics. But we know we don't live in that world. And, you know, but thank God for sports and thank God for things like that. And thank God for vacations and breaks and all that thing, that kind of thing, including our faith in God, our friendship with God and our family and our friends and just going out to eat and all the things, right? So, but at the end of the day, we're hoping for and praying for and working hard for the Save America Act for freedom for this country. All right, 12/11, Friday, May 8th. So we're going to go to the president here momentarily as he will be delivering remarks at the Rose Garden. This is hosting this Mother's Day luncheon for Angel Moms and Gold Star Mothers. Some great people, of course, there with the president today. So looking forward to that. I believe the weather is, I think, decently nice up there. So let me double check here on the phone, just like anybody else would. Let's go to Washington. 66 and sunny right now. A high of 73 at 5 p.m. So not bad. Gorgeous weather in our nation's capital. Speaking of our nation's capital, May 17th, the Rededicate 250 event. Chris Tomlin, the Christian artist, and other performers there as there is praise and worship and you know, just a faith-filled event. As you know, our founders had a belief system, and it was to get away from what England was trying to push on them and get away from all of that, and the birth of freedom happened. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, there is freedom. And you know, it's interesting that a number of other countries that are around the earth right now, though some may be Christian nations, some not, you know, I get it, but the freedom that we have here in this country and the blessings, I mean, think about it. You go into one of those grocery stores, if you've ever traveled around the world, I've traveled a bit, mostly on various mission trips in college, right? I've been to Chad, Africa, I went through London, down through Singapore, I've been to Australia, I've just been a lot of places, right? But when you go through and see third world countries like Chad, I went with a group in college, and you compare it to when you walk into a grocery store here and you see all the fruit and the vegetables and the processed foods in the middle of the store, right? The meats, if I want some shrimp, I want shrimp cocktail today, I can go to the seafood spot and get that for $11 a pound or whatever it is. The amount of being grateful increases. I think Thanksgiving should be another holiday we celebrate every day, not only because turkey, mashed potatoes, and corn taste good. It's one of my favorite meals, but it's something that we got to keep on keeping on, right? And as we go into America 250, Freedom 250 in our country, it's just to think about the fact of how blessed we are in this nation and to be so grateful for it. And also to give back in however you'd like to give back. And that's one thing. What do we have to offer our fellow countrymen? What do we have to offer the world? What is your gift? What is the gift that God has placed on your heart? What are you doing out there for the country? I have to do more than I'm doing here. This is great, but in my personal life, what can I do better, right? So there's just a lot at stake for our country. And that's why President Trump called it the Save America Act. If there was no question, if everything's, as they say, hunky-dory, we wouldn't have to call it the Save America Act. What are we saving America from? Communism, socialism, a dictatorship, who knows? Terrorism, things that are totally against what we the people are all about. So it's 12:15. Any minute now, I believe, we'll be going to the Rose Garden. President Trump delivering remarks there shortly. Again, angel moms and Gold Star families, Gold Star mothers will be there listening to the president. But these are people that have gone through it and dealt with a lot of pain and dealt with a lot of things and have overcome so much. And so these are some great patriots that are going to be listening to the commander-in-chief here shortly. So we're looking forward to hearing the speech and just having a nice day on a Friday at the Rose Garden. Of course, again, there are a ton of stories going on around the world and around the country, including the Strait of Hormuz. It's still, blockaded when it comes to Iran. Will there be an Iranian deal? What will happen there? What will happen now that the DHS is fully funded? Will we see an increase in ICE deportations? Now that the Coast Guard has also received money for their operational requirements. There's just different things to check out. Of course, today, a number of stories I can go over right now with you that happened today. Specifically, we're seeing from Disclose.tv, and they're citing NBC, that the Virginia Supreme Court, well, they blocked the new Democrat-drawn congressional map from taking effect. So ruling that the state legislature began their constitutional amendment process too late to be lawful. And then President Trump chimed in and said this: huge win for the Republican Party and America in Virginia. The Virginia Supreme Court has just struck down the Democrats' horrible gerrymander, Make America Great Again, President Donald J. Trump. So following that story. Also, we're seeing that story when it comes to UFOs, specifically war.gov/UFO. If you want to check it out yourself, I did this morning. Our president and COO, Grace sent something to us today, and she sent us specifically the information from the Department of War, that website, war.gov/UFO. So if you want to check it out, I remember looking at that stuff this morning, some of those photos out there, just to see these files. And if you remember, early on, I believe last year, and I believe in February or March, Ana Paulina Luna, the representative of Florida, had this government declassification task force that she was talking about alongside Kentucky Representative James Comer. And some of them in there specifically were talking about 9/11 files, COVID files, Epstein files, also specifically here when it comes to the UFO files. So there was a lot for the transparency for the American people. This was discussed on record. We've aired the press conference here before. So this is part of that as well. So we're seeing that transparency when it comes to specifically war.gov/UFO. So you can check it out yourself. So so we're looking forward to coverage coming up next week, on Thursday and Friday next week, specifically in China, because President Trump and the First Lady will be traveling there for that meeting with President Xi Jinping and his wife there. So that'll be quite the coverage at the end of next week. Now, prior to that, we have Monday, May 11th, 12th, and 13th. I believe there will be a White House press briefing Will it be Secretary of State Marco Rubio conducting that, or will it be somebody else? So we don't know. We'll see what happens. If you watched or if you missed the Secretary of State Marco Rubio holding down the fort at the podium there, you can check all of that out here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Various social media platforms. Of course, our home is Rumble, but thank God for a number of social media platforms out there. Those of you watching on X or YouTube or anywhere else, maybe our app. But if you'd like to follow us on X, just go to @RSB Network and then follow us on Truth Social @RSBN. More than 5 million followers on Truth, more than 1 million on X. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. We've been hovering at 1.1 million on X for a long time now. But the numbers on Truth Social are growing. And still on X, I believe the numbers somehow have to be higher than 1.1. I'm just saying, even if I didn't work here at Right Side, I'd look at Right Side, I'd be like, no, they should have more than 1 million. Because if you think about it, if you look at some of the numbers, as I'm just obviously standing by here, and if you're just joining us now, we had live interviews and a number of stories that we've been talking about here on the 24/7 news cycle. But just having a fireside chat quickly on a Friday as we get ready to go to the Rose Garden. But back in the election of 2024, and I mean, you could go back to the election of 2020 and 2016. If you look at the numbers, but let's just specifically look at 2024, there were more than 5 million people that watched Right Side Broadcasting Network on that election night. And I remember sitting here with some of my colleagues and some former colleagues here, and I just know that we were very, I don't know what the word is, but it was very powerful. What a powerful night that was. November 5th, 2024, and a lot of you joined us to watch that coverage and to hear that President Trump won different swing states, and we were watching that come through. Quite the memory. And then also Inauguration Day, if you remember, January 20th of 2025, this was not an inauguration that was outside. It was inside that U.S. Capitol building. Another 6 million people tuned in to watch that. So over the years, a grassroots group, this is kind of a lesson in life, cause and effect. You do the right cause, you get the right effect. Well, we know that the Seals family made the right move. 2015, they said, you know what, none of this anymore. None of the mainstream media networks not covering President Trump's full speeches and showing the crowds. You remember all that? And then, of course, when we would show up, a fan favorite by many, a fan favorite from the president as well, saying things to us from the podium. But outside of that, the main part of it was a very simple fact, that the mainstream media would not want to cover President Trump's full speeches and not cover and show the crowds. That's why President Trump started making fun of them, calling them out and saying they're not going to turn their cameras. Or when I start talking about this specific issue, watch the red light, it'll turn off. You know what I mean? This is real stuff that's happened out there. And to be at some of these events, my favorite event is Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids, Michigan, a week after J13 in Butler, Pennsylvania, President Trump said, the show must go on. And there he is speaking in front of a packed crowd in Grand Rapids with the patch on his ear after getting hit by gunfire in Pennsylvania. Talk about electric. Talk about chanting USA. Talk about an amazing moment in time there in Grand Rapids. So I would say that's my favorite one to cover. Two other ones, Miami and Rapid City, South Dakota, are two other ones that were great. I'm going to continue on with the story because we are standing by, of course, and we did show you a number of videos. We've talked about a number of stories, and just again, reminiscing for a second here as we're on standby. Any second from now, we'll be tossing to the White House. But in Miami, President Trump delivering a speech, a huge severe thunderstorm coming through. He doesn't stop. High winds, heavy, the rains, the lightning, all the things. And the people there, they're soaking wet, but they're chanting USA. And I remember President Trump saying, this might be the greatest rally we've ever had. And he kept going. That was a powerful moment. And then, of course, South Dakota, Rapid City. First of all, it was great to see Mount Rushmore for the first time. But then at the rally, President Trump, you know, at the end of those speeches, when the music would start and he'd wrap up the speech, usually he would continue on with his speech, but the music turned up and he stayed silent for about 40 to 50 seconds. And you can tell the the moment of the situation there when it comes to what he was talking about for this country. His heart for the United States, his heart for we the people. So that, of course, back in, I believe, 2023 in Rapid City. So those are my three favorite. Grand Rapids, Michigan. So those of you watching in Michigan right now, that speech, then down in Miami, Florida, then over in South Dakota, and why not round it out with the first ever rally I covered, September 3rd, 2022, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Pennsylvania, the first ever. And I believe my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, thank God, was with me for that as well. So powerful stuff, and really look forward to just more coverage in conservative media, but really at the end of the day, guys, to really advance the cause of freedom. So that's something that we're focused on here. That's why we bring on the guests we do. That's why we do the commentary we do. That's why we do the coverage we do. So just bringing a lot of context, because I know it's a little bit of a shift. To be really transparent, it's a shift from constant rally coverage to more of a news kind of look right now. But that's what we're doing. And I've been in the news business since 2003, 4 in college. So I've seen a lot, interviewed a lot of people, and I'm glad to be here with you guys. So again, if you'd like to follow Right Side Broadcasting Network, just go ahead at RSBN on Truth Social and at RSB Network on X, as we're standing by for the Rose Garden today to bring you back up to speed for those of you just joining us. So any minute from now, I am hearing some of the phone calls in the other control room right outside of the studio here. And when I hear certain phone calls happening and some of the landlines ringing and the people talking on speakerphone, I know that this is about to go down in a good way. Of course, the Rose Garden moment happening ideally any minute from now. So again, President Trump hosting Angel Moms and Gold Star Mothers for the Mother's Day luncheon. Of course, Mother's Day is a few days away, coming up on Sunday. So guys, if we haven't gotten the flowers and the cards and plans for food and all that, today and tomorrow is the day to do it. I have it on my list to do it too. So anyway, thank God for our moms out there. Thank God for mama bears and grandmas and just everybody that is on the right side of history out there. And it's great to see it. Also, I talked about this earlier, but it's National Nurses Week, started May 6th through May 12th. And recently, my wife and I welcomed our newborn son. I know I've said that before, but I'm very happy about that, of course. It's awesome to get married and have kids. And the nurses at the local hospital here, just awesome. They did great, and they're doing great with my family. So yeah, it's something that I think needs to be just, I don't know, talked about a little bit more sometimes. And maybe even more of a pay increase. You know, you think about the people out there that make a ton of money, which is great. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with billionaires. I have no problem with people making millions, hundreds of thousands a year. I have no problem with if you earn it, you make it, great. But when it comes to nurses specifically, man, I know that some of them get paid really good and some maybe don't, but what a job. 12-hour shifts, working overnight. And think about this. If the nurse has a bad day in their personal life, they have to come in there and treat the people or treat our baby, which I've been seeing it time and time again, with compassion, love, and an upbeat flow. That's a very, very difficult job. So again, thank you, nurses, for what you do. All right, we're approaching the bottom of the hour. So this event, originally scheduled 12 o'clock, obviously been standing by and doing a little stretching here with you. Let's go over some of the 24/7 news cycle stories that we've been following since this morning, as well as Virginia. The Supreme Court there has blocked that new Democrat-drawn congressional map from taking effect, ruling that the state legislature began their constitutional amendment process too late to be lawful. So we know President Trump chimed in on that as well. You remember we were talking about the Virginia redistricting and the maps there the other day? Well, the Supreme Court in Virginia said, nah, not on our watch. You guys, that constitutional amendment process was too late to be lawful. So that's happening. And of course, we've talked about some of the other stories as well, including the war.gov/UFO. If you want to see some UFO files from the United States government, you can do that. as we're standing by now here on this Friday. So a couple questions I have moving forward for in the next 20 days or so, and then also within the summer is, when will the White House Correspondents Association dinner take place? Where will it take place? President Trump said it's going to happen within 30 days of what happened the other weekend, if you watched our live coverage here on that Saturday night. And then the second thing is, when will there be the midterm RNC, the national convention? There's going to be a national convention, just like in those presidential cycles. There's going to be a midterm presidential or midterm national convention held for the Republicans. And it's something I don't know when the last time that's happened. So where will it be? When will it be? And then also the White House Correspondents Association dinner. To be honest, for me, I'll watch it because, I'm in the press or whatever, and obviously President Trump will be speaking. But outside of that, there's a decent amount of people that I think are on the wrong side of history that will be at that dinner. That's just my opinion. I mean, we're allowed to voice that opinion. And again, legally, lawfully, and spiritually, we fight for freedom. So that's what we're up to. Let's bring you up to speed a little bit on the Save America Act as well. As of right now, we know that it is unfortunately either delayed or stalled in the United States Senate. There are 347 million people in our great country. I believe they're all citizens because that's the census right there, but around 347 million people. And there are 51 Senate Republicans that could simply say, you know what, let's nuke the filibuster and let's have a simple majority and have 51 of us that just nuked the filibuster be the same 51 that passed the Save America Act. And then once that happens, that legislation goes to President Trump's desk and he signs it into law. Easier said than done. So we'll see what happens. I don't think that's going to happen. That's horrible to say, but what do you think is going to happen, For those of you watching right now on Rumble or YouTube or X or wherever you're watching, go ahead and type down there. Do you think the Save America Act is going to pass? Yes or no? And maybe why or why not, that kind of thing. So that's what a lot of people are talking about out there as well. All right, I'm going to look at some headlines here to see if there's any new headlines, anything breaking news at this hour. As we know that we've been covering a number of stories or just checking out to see if there's any new ones at this point. We do know, of course, that in Mississippi, there were 14 tornadoes that hit on Wednesday night. About 400 to 500 homes were either destroyed or damaged, 17 people injured in that. No deaths, but 14 tornadoes, quite the number. I'm seeing a report now on Breaking 911 citing Fox. I'm going to look behind the camera on a screen up there. It says today a judge is set to decide whether cameras will be allowed in the Tyler Robinson case, in which Robinson is accused of murdering Charlie Kirk in September. Defense attorneys are opposing the move and fighting to keep cameras out of the courtroom. So that's a report that we're seeing right now. And this, as we're approaching May 10th, which September 10th of 2025 is when Charlie was taken from us. And, you think about America 250, you think about the Rededicate 250 event that's happening on May 17th. And I can't not think about the fact that someone like a Charlie Kirk would have been someone that would have been speaking at that event in Washington, D.C. I really think that Charlie Kirk should have a memorial or a statue in the District of Columbia and add President JFK to that list as well. There's only, in Arlington, there's something for JFK. There should be something for Charlie Kirk, in my opinion. I'm glad that they're, obviously, come on, it's our founding fathers. We have the Jefferson Memorial. We have, even President Lincoln. We have the Washington Monument. We have MLK Jr., a statue across from the Jefferson Memorial. That's awesome. We got to have that for some great people of our history. But Charlie Kirk is one of those great people of our history. I believe we should have a statue in the District of Columbia for Charlie. I say that because you look at what he stood for in our country. He stands for what the majority, massive majority of the people in this country believe in. And then you look at the impact, the global impact back in September of 2025. I remember looking in Australia, I think Indonesia, France, England. There were people all over the place in support of this freedom fighter, this free speech icon. Somebody that was able to take down any kind of mind barrier from a woke mind virus like a Jedi. He was able to take care of business. And he was right there. He just said, no, listen, this is how this is. Boom, 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 boom. Has all the points. And that's what it's all about, is freedom. That's why we call it the free world, right? So he's a champion. An epic, legendary champion of free speech and of God, family, and country. So if you agree with what I'm saying, maybe type that as well. And where you're watching right now as we're standing by for the president, that Charlie Kirk should have his own memorial. It should be in Washington, D.C., in the District of Columbia. There you go. I really feel strongly about that, obviously. But he stands for and he stood for all the things that we believe in. And we'll all see him again, those that, are believers. We'll see him again. But it's 12:35 Eastern time. All right, so I'm not hearing a word yet. We thought we'd be going to the Rose Garden, so I'm going to continue on here. Let me page through some of the stories that we're following. Of course, the UAP files release that I'm looking on the side of the screen here. When it comes to the White House, 26 minutes ago, there's a story or specific UAP file release regarding the UFOs for Apollo 12 in 1969. So that was released. There's a specific photo that they're showing there. Also, let's go over a number of our great sponsors here as we're waiting for the president as well. I believe we said Birch Gold Group, guys. Okay, so I just heard never mind, because it sounds like we're going to be going to the Rose Garden here any second from now. So let me get back to some of the stories that we're tracking here on right side. Ford and Carhartt double down on American workers with new truck and small business push. We're seeing that from Rapid Response 47. And real quick, kind of a fun Friday question for you. Are you a Ford person or a Chevy person? Or how about Dodge or GMC? Anyway, enough of that. Let's get to the Rose Garden here, right now here in Washington, D.C.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Well, thank you very much. We love that song. We could have listened to the whole song. We've had that right from the beginning. It's Lee Greenwood, and it's been a great tribute to all of us. Why don't we sit down? We've got plenty of time, right? Special people, very special people. And I hope you like what we're doing. Did everybody get to see the Presidential Walk of Fame? Right? And you have some of your favorite presidents there, some of your least favorite presidents. Some were good, some were great, some were terrible. But that's the way life goes, right? And you notice the roses. This is a rose garden, and we added a lot of roses, I will tell you. This was a rose garden that didn't have too many roses, and if you look now, we cornered the market on roses, and you deserve them. So thank you for being with us in this beautiful spring, this gorgeous spring day. The very famous rose garden has been famous for a long time. They let it get a little bit out of control, but now it's brought back to the highest level. And where you're standing or sitting right now is white stone. And that was grass, and the problem with it is you couldn't walk on it because this is built on a wetland, and the grass was always soaking wet. It didn't matter. It was always soaking wet, absolutely. And so when Brooke Rollins would get up and start making a magnificent speech, and she'd be standing in mud, and she'd say, I ruined my shoes. Her speeches would never be as good as they could have been because she was always concerned about ruining her shoes. But people would come here, women would come with the high heels, and it wasn't a pretty picture. So after about 150 years, we gave up on the grass. So we said, let's build it so we can use it. And now we have lunches here, we have dinners here, and it's nice and it's cool. The white reflects the sun, so you don't, although it does go in my eye right now, I notice. I didn't anticipate that. But it's a great place. It's a great place. And we do news conferences. We do everything. And right up here, you probably noticed a new black granite. And it's been so well received, people can't even believe it, because the stones were all broken and really in bad disrepair. And it's really become great. And we added the pictures of the presidents from George Washington to a guy named Trump. And people really, they've loved it. We call it the Presidential Wall of Fame or Walk of Fame. We say you could call it either. Do you like walk or wall? Ready? Walk. Presidential Walk of Fame. Presidential Wall of Fame. Same. That's the same. I would call that a tie. But I want to thank you all for being here. It's amazing. The weekend we celebrate Mother's Day, honoring the women who raised us and all of the wonderful mothers in our lives for millions of American families. Sunday will be filled with love and gratitude and joy. I had a great mother, by the way. And today we're honored to be joined by many strong and truly heroic moms who have stood up for their children, both in life and in a very profound loss. Very, very terrible in many, just terrible loss. Many cases, and we have a lot of the greatest people on earth, angel moms. They're with us today. They're great people. They've been through so much, and I got to know so many of you during my first days of running. I got to know you, and I got to love you. But we want to thank you for being here. Mother's Day, it's one of the great days. I always think so fondly of my mother. I had a wonderful mother. Among those with us this afternoon are a number of the angel moms who saw their precious children stolen from them by the open border policies of the radical left. Open borders, I call them stupid borders, not open. I call them stupid borders by stupid people that put them there. And the migrant criminals that let them pour into our country, and bad things happened. Bad things happened. 25 million people came into our country. Many of them were criminals. Many of them were murderers. They allowed them in with their open border policy of stupidity. These incredibly brave and resilient women have turned terrible tragedy into unyielding resolve, becoming advocates so that their mothers do not have to endure the same heartache that they've felt all their lives. They've felt for so long. They've raised the most beautiful child that has taken, and they've spent so many years. In many cases, I see some of you I've known you for years, and others are unfortunately new members of that club. And I say unfortunately, it's a sad thing. Should have never happened. Should have never happened. In their honor, we've rapidly turned the worst and most dangerous border in the history of our country into the strongest border in American history. We have no people come in during the last 11 months. We have zero. Nobody even tries to come up. You know, you used to read about the thousands of people that would pour in, and they'd just come up in caravans. I think it was my name I came up with. It looked like a caravan. 25, 30,000 people pouring up. They walk through Mexico. They come from all different locations, come from all over the world, actually. But they came in through our southern border, and they'd come up and just let them walk in. They'd walk in. Nobody had any idea who they were. They were murderers. 11,888 murderers. They were allowed to come into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out. Many of them murdered more than one person. What a shame. What a disgusting shame. That people can even think that this is okay is pretty incredible. But for the past 12 months, that's been our number. And these numbers are done by people that the numbers, when I say zero, I actually mean zero. It's hard to believe, actually. But they're done by people they tend to be somewhat on the left. So they're not going to give us a fair shake. And they say that People don't come anymore because they know they're not going to get through. So when they know they're not going to get through, they just don't come. And just on that, we save a lot of lives, because that journey up from Honduras and El Salvador and lots of other countries, or from the Congo, where they drop them there and they walk up and they come through our country. They emptied the prisons of the Congo into the area of the southern border and then told them to just walk in, because stupid Americans are going to accept you beautifully. And these were hard, mean, vicious criminals they allowed into our country. How anybody can vote for these people is hard to believe, okay? It's hard to believe. But to a friend of mine, Marianne Mendoza. Marianne, where is Marianne? Where are you, Marianne? I got to know you right from the beginning, right? And I won't ask her that, but I would often ask, is it easier with time? Because time has gone by. Marianne, no, it's not. Sadly, it's not. You always hear with time, but a lot of people say it's not easier. But you're a special woman. I've gotten to be a friend of yours. You're a special woman. What you have to go through is disgraceful. Tammy Nobles. Tammy, are you here? Tammy Nobles. Right. Does time help, Tammy? No. It used to be. Time heals all wounds, right? But it doesn't. When you love somebody that much, it doesn't help like it should. Jacqueline Medina, a great person. Where is Jacqueline? Jacqueline, where are you? Thank you, darling. Thank you. And so many others, and I want to thank you for coming. And I don't think you've been treated properly. It's hard to believe, but the angel moms have not been treated properly. But this president treats you properly. I can't speak for others, but this one treats you properly. And we love you all, and all I can say is our hearts are out to you on Mother's Day, and you have a good Mother's Day. Go and have a good Mother's Day. In securing our border, we've also made tremendous strides in stopping the flow of illegal drugs into our country. The flood of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by 59%, and the drugs coming in by sea are down by 97%. 97%. And we're trying to figure out who the 3% are, because they are the bravest people on earth. You see how we stop them by sea. For years they'd go and catch the boat, bring them to court, they'd go in, they'd go out. By the time of the evening, they'd be back on another boat, bringing drugs in. So we gave them warning, and we don't do that anymore. We do it much more efficiently. But think of that, down by sea. A lot of them came in, about 50%. It's down 97. Now we've started a very strong. The sea was more difficult, and now we've started land, and you'll see it coming down. It's come down a lot, but you'll see it coming down. And they come through Mexico for the most part. We have a problem because the cartels rule Mexico, and nobody else. The cartels, they just rule it. And, we lose 200,000 people a year through this poison that pours into our country. So we have the sea done, meaning the ocean, waterways, pretty much done, 97%, and we're going to have the land done very soon. I want to thank the brave moms fighting the epidemic of drug addiction, and this afternoon, including Ann Funder. Ann, you here someplace? Ann Funder does a great job. Wow, good. That's a great job you do, Ann. Stephanie Rowe. Stephanie, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. Behind the cameras there, Stephanie. Thank you very much. And a friend of mine, Jackie Siegel, who's a great mom, great mother. Thank you, Jackie. I've known her for a long time. She looks better now than she did 20 years ago, right? Thank you very much, Jackie. Last summer, it was my great honor to sign the Halt Fentanyl Act into law, and we'll never give up on that mission for ending the drug epidemic in America. We've come a long way, though. We've stopped massive amounts of drugs from coming in. This afternoon, we're also joined by some of the most extraordinary mothers our nation has ever produced, our cherished Gold Star moms. These are Gold Star moms. These mothers raised up children so selfless and so devoted that they volunteered to wear the uniform of our nation and laid down their lives for all of us. One of those mothers is Janice Chance. Janice, where's Janice? Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Hi, you look great. That's a beautiful hat. Thank you, Janice. Who lost her son, Marine Captain Jesse Melton, and I heard he was an outstanding. They give me lists and they tell me about people. You know, they said that Jesse was outstanding, Janice. They have the word outstanding. Thank you for being here. Just before he went to Afghanistan in 2008, Jesse told his mother, "Mom, I want to go change the world and make it an even better place. I want to make it a better place, Mom." Just before his 30th birthday, even though he had the day off, Jesse volunteered to take the place of a fellow Marine, and that of his brother-in-arms could be present for the birth of a daughter. That day, Jesse gave his life for our country. Jesse was struck down that day by helping somebody else. And Janice, I want to say America is a strong and free nation today because of people like your great son, and we want to thank you for being here. Thank you very much. I also want to express my love for the moms with us whose extraordinary heroes gave their lives in the terrorist attack at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. I got to know you very well, very well. And these are phenomenal people. We went to a club I own in Bedminster, New Jersey, which is beautiful. They played music. They said, "Do you actually think he's coming out?" They said, "Yes." And I was going to do just to stop by and say hello. And we ended up listening to music for 4 hours on that beautiful night, looking at the sky, thinking about those wonderful people. Abbey Gate, very well known. Should have never happened. That should have never happened. That was incompetence by the Biden administration. So to Alice Lopez, you know that, right? Yeah, we know that. To Alicia Lopez and Paula Knaus, Self, Coral Persino, and to all of the Abbey Gate moms, we're thinking of you in this Mother's Day. And again, we had you to the White House. We had you to, I was over at a very beautiful cemetery, as beautiful as they can be, but, you know, it's a sad occasion. We went over and we paid our respects, but we lost great people that day. We shouldn't have lost any people that day. Gross incompetence. This Mother's Day, we're thinking of all of those incredible moms, and we're doing everything in our power to support them and millions of other mothers all across America. And we're blessed to have many wonderful mothers serving in this administration, including Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who's doing a phenomenal job. Thank you very much. And the first woman ever to serve as a White House Chief of Staff. She's become a legend, Susie Wiles. She's amazing. To help American families and mothers, we passed a great big beautiful bill, the largest tax cuts in American history. We expanded the child tax credit to $2,200 from a much lower number per child, and delivered the largest expansion of school choice in American history. We have school choice all over now. We had virtually none. Everybody loves school choice. With accounts, we have a very special thing, the Trump accounts, where we're helping families to set aside tax advantage savings for their children's future, and we are giving every American newborn child $1,000 automatically to invest and to grow over the course of their lives. And I want to thank the Dell family. It's a great family. He is amazing. She is amazing. They've done such a job on that. They put up a lot of money, too. Put up $6.25 billion. That's somebody. And he started making computers on his bed in college and selling them because they were better than other computers. And I said, "How did you do that?" He said, "Well, I did it, and I just never stopped. It just kept going." So go out and buy a Dell. They're great. We're also working to make it easier than ever before to start a family by lowering the price of IVF, cutting regulatory battles and barriers, and fighting to bring down the cost of living so that more Americans can pursue the dream of, and it's a dream of living just a good life, maybe a great life. We cut drug prices now with the favored nations, most favored nations. We cut them by 70, 80, 90%. You could say 500%, 600, depending on the way you phrase the statement. But we now play, when I was here, this was a big ambition. Right at the beginning, I was able to cut them a little bit, but I didn't cut them. I cut them more than anybody else, which was a little bit. Because for 28 years, drug prices and prescription drugs only went in one direction. And when I came back, we now did something that everybody said was impossible. Favored nations. We had the highest drug prices in the world by far. Now we have the lowest drug prices in the world. Can you imagine? So we cut them by 50, 60, 70%. And go out and you'll see exactly. It's one of the I think it's one of the biggest things that we've done. Drugs that were costing in London $10 for a pill would cost $130 for a pill in the United States. And now, if it's $10 or if it's $20, that's what we pay. We pay the lowest price anywhere in the world, so it's great. And the fake news doesn't want to write about it, but that's why I talk about it, because we have no choice. We have to. So I just want to, again, I want to thank everybody for being here. It's so important. We do things like we keep men out of women's sports, a very popular issue. We stopped transgender mutilization of your children for everyone. We don't have that. But I want to thank every single mother here this afternoon and all across our nation for your work every single day. America's moms are really raising the future of our country, the most important. You have the most, we don't call it a job because when you love it, it's not a job, but for this purpose, you have the most important job there is in America or any place else, and you're doing an incredible job. I just want to wish you all a very happy Mother's Day. We're going to have a great Mother's Day, and for those mothers that lost their child, many of whom are with us today, the angel moms and others, Gold Star moms, we love you especially. We love you maybe even the most. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.